this is a very real family at the centre. Any family can have its problems. It just so happens that the royal families are playing out on the global stage.
Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's children Archie and Lilibet might be royal, but they've also been through a lot.
Did the royal institution just deliver the most brutal blow to Harry and Meghan's children? What if everything we believed about Archie and Lilibet's place in the monarchy was carefully orchestrated theater? The palace walls have been whispering secrets for years, but now those whispers have turned into declarations that nobody saw coming. Behind closed doors, decisions were made that would change everything for two innocent children caught in a war they never asked to fight. Stay with us as we unpack the stunning reality that Buckingham Palace has been hiding in plain sight. The foundation that built a royal storm. Go back more than 100 years, and you'll find the exact moment when the monarchy decided who gets to wear a crown and who doesn't. King George V didn't just wake up one day and make random rules. In 1917, he put together something called the Letters Patent, a legal document that became the backbone of royal titles. This wasn't about being mean or playing favorites. It was about survival. The royal family needed clear lines, solid boundaries, and ironclad rules that couldn't be bent just because someone had a sad story or a famous face. These rules say exactly who can call themselves prince or princess. You need royal blood running through your veins. You need proper documentation that the crown recognizes. You need to be connected to the Church of England in ways that matter to the institution. There's no wiggle room here, no backdoor entries, no special exceptions because you starred in a TV show or married into the family with big dreams and bigger expectations. Fast forward to today, and these same rules are causing massive headaches for Harry and Meghan. They thought they could play by different rules. They thought their star power, their Netflix money.
Duke and Duchess dreamt of Hollywood stardom. There were camera crews, mansion backdrops, lifestyle tips, and a $100 million Netflix deal.
And their ability to cry on camera would somehow rewrite centuries of tradition. But here's the cold truth that nobody wants to say out loud. The monarchy doesn't care about your feelings. It cares about order. It cares about structure. And most importantly, it cares about protecting itself from people who treat royal titles like participation trophies. When Meghan walked into that palace, she carried herself like someone who was about to change everything. She had confidence, ambition, and a belief that the old ways needed updating. But the palace doesn't update like your phone. It doesn't download new versions of tradition just because someone thinks they're outdated. The system that kept the Windsors in power for generations isn't impressed by Instagram followers or podcast deals. Harry and Meghan made a gamble that could rewrite royal history or destroy their connection to it forever. They believed that the power of emotion, the reach of the media, and the modern hunger for authenticity could force centuries of monarchy to bend. Their story wasn't just about truth, it was about control. They thought that if they spoke loud enough, long enough, and vulnerably enough, the world would side with them and pressure the palace to change. Every interview, every documentary, every headline was part of a grand strategy to reshape an ancient institution using the tools of the modern age. They painted themselves as the misunderstood outcasts, the victims of a cold, unfeeling system. They believed that public sympathy could accomplish what royal negotiations could not. To them, silence was complicity, so they spoke, they exposed, they hoped. But the palace has seen centuries of rebellion before. It has outlasted wars, divorces, abdications, and betrayals. It never rushes, it waits, it watches, and when the storm quiets, it acts. The monarchy doesn't fight back with emotion, it answers with endurance. When Harry and Meghan thought they were changing the rules, the palace reminded them that the rules don't change. Not for anyone. The reminder came not as a statement, but as an action. No public argument, no dramatic speech, just quiet reinforcement of tradition. And that silence was louder than any interview could ever be. Behind those palace walls, history remains the ultimate authority. and it has no sympathy for celebrity culture. For Archie and Lilibet, the fallout is quietly tragic. Their father's royal blood should have been their greatest inheritance, a guarantee of titles, status, and lifelong protection. But instead, it has become a closed door. The same laws that once safeguarded royal children are now the very chains keeping them outside. Their parents' rebellion, meant to give them freedom, has instead left them without a place in the structure their lineage promised. The palace isn't punishing two innocent children. It's following principles that have survived revolutions, abdications, and heartbreak. Royal law does not bend for public opinion, no matter how emotional the pleas. These are the same rules that held the crown steady when kingdoms fell, when monarchs were challenged, when bloodlines were questioned. And so, as the dust of modern celebrity settles, the palace stands unmoved. The world may shift its attention, the headlines may fade, but the monarchy's foundation remains untouched. Harry and Meghan's gamble was built on the belief that the world's sympathy could outweigh royal tradition. But the crown has always known one truth: popularity is fleeting, legitimacy is eternal. For Archie and Lilibet, that truth now defines their future. The gates of royal privilege that once seemed destined to open have closed quietly, irrevocably, and in that silence, the message is clear. The monarchy bends for no one, not even for those who once called it home. When birth records become battlegrounds. Archie's arrival should have been simple. Royal baby born, world celebrates.
Meghan Markle. The big news: Archie was born at Portland Hospital in Westminster, and not where Meghan had hoped, in the privacy.
Parents smile. History books get updated with another name. Instead, his birth became one of the strangest chapters in modern royal history. Everything started normally enough with announcements and photos and all the usual excitement. But then something odd happened that made people start asking uncomfortable questions. Archie's birth certificate got changed after it was filed. Meghan's legal name disappeared from the document, replaced with her royal title. Now, that might sound like a small detail, but in the world where every comma and signature matters, this was huge. Other royal mothers kept their names on official papers. Diana did. Kate did. Every duchess before Meghan followed the standard process. So why was Meghan's name removed? Who made that call? Was it her idea, the palace's demand, or something else entirely? That single change opened up a flood of speculation that hasn't stopped since. People started wondering if the palace was creating distance between itself and Archie from day one. Others questioned whether Meghan was trying to erase her past identity. Some went even darker, suggesting the alteration meant the palace didn't fully accept Archie's place in the family tree. Whatever the real reason, the message was clear. This birth record didn't look like the others, and in royal terms, different equals questionable. Birth certificates might seem boring to most people, but they're sacred documents in monarchy world. They prove legitimacy. They establish lineage. They create legal connections that last forever. When Archie's paperwork started looking unusual, it wasn't just a clerical mistake. It was a signal that something wasn't sitting right with the institution. The palace keeps meticulous records going back centuries. Every royal child's documentation follows the same pattern, except Archie's. And that exception became the first crack in a foundation that would eventually crumble. People can argue all day about whether the birth was real, whether surrogates were involved, or whether Meghan's pregnancy photos looked suspicious. But here's what can't be argued. The official documentation surrounding Archie's birth doesn't match royal protocol. Whether that's Harry and Meghan's fault, the palace's doing, or a combination of both, the result is the same. Archie's place in royal history started on shaky ground, and nothing that happened afterward made it any more stable. When Lilibet was born 2 years later in California, the situation got even stranger. There was no royal announcement, no official statement from the Queen, no formal recognition from Buckingham Palace whatsoever. just a press release from Harry and Meghan's team, like they were announcing a new product launch instead of a grandchild of the heir to the throne. The silence from London was deafening. Every other royal baby got at least some acknowledgement, no matter how far down the succession line. Lilibet got nothing. That absence of recognition wasn't an oversight. It was intentional. By staying quiet, the palace sent a message that couldn't be misunderstood. Acknowledging Lilibet would mean weaving her into the official tapestry of royal history. It would mean accepting her as part of the family structure that defines the monarchy. The palace chose not to do that. They chose to treat her birth like any other celebrity baby born in California, worthy of congratulations but not worthy of royal protocol. The contrast couldn't be sharper. When William and Kate's children were born, even the youngest one got the full royal treatment. Announcements on palace easels, gun salutes, official photos, the whole production that reminds everyone these children matter to the kingdom. Lilibet got none of that. She was born into privilege, sure, but not into royal recognition. And in a system where recognition equals legitimacy, that omission was brutal. The ceremony that never was. Baptism in the Church of England has never been a simple ceremony of faith. For the royal family, it's a declaration of belonging, a sacred initiation that binds blood to the crown. When holy water touches a royal infant's forehead, it's not just a blessing, it's a spiritual contract. It says, this child is not only of royal blood, but of royal purpose. It connects them to the same church that anoints kings and queens, a lineage of power sanctified by centuries of ritual. Every royal baby, from the smallest prince to the most distant cousin, passes through this ceremony. Each christening is documented, sealed, and archived within church records that form an unbroken thread linking monarchs across generations. But Lilibet's baptism was different. It didn't happen beneath cathedral arches or under the watch of the Archbishop of Canterbury. It happened thousands of miles away, in a quiet California home, surrounded by family friends rather than royal clergy. To those outside the institution, it seemed heartfelt and personal. To those inside, it broke a chain that has never been allowed to snap. The Church of England never formally recorded it. There is no official entry, no acknowledgement, no sacred confirmation in the royal registry. And that single omission changes everything. Within the monarchy's spiritual framework, documentation is identity. Without it, a royal child exists outside the institution's divine protection. Lilibet may be of royal blood, but her name doesn't live inside the same sacred book as her ancestors. To tradition, that absence whispers one quiet truth. She stands apart, loved by her family, yes, but unbound by the faith and formality that define the monarchy's soul. Harry and Meghan probably saw their daughter's baptism as a beautiful personal moment. The palace saw it as incomplete. Not hostile, not rejecting, just incomplete. And incomplete doesn't count. It's like submitting paperwork with missing signatures. You might have done something, but officially it doesn't exist. For a monarchy obsessed with continuity and proper procedure, Lilibet's missing church records mean she was never properly brought into the fold. This wasn't about punishing anyone. It was about following rules that existed long before Harry and Meghan decided to leave. The Church of England and the monarchy are intertwined by law and history. Breaking that connection, even partially, has consequences. Lilibet can grow up loved and happy, but spiritually and legally, she stands outside the royal framework. And once you're outside that framework, getting back in is nearly impossible. When the brand collapses. Strip away the royal titles, and what's left of Harry and Meghan's empire? Their entire public identity depends on being connected to the palace. Every interview, every documentary, every book deal trades on their royal past and present. But when their own children get erased from royal records, that narrative starts falling apart. Meghan built her brand around being a duchess, a modern royal, a mother raising future heirs. But if Archie and Lilibet aren't recognized heirs, what is she really? Just another celebrity living in California trying to stay relevant. The tension between palace life and personal freedom made for compelling TV, but that tension evaporates when the palace simply removes them from the equation. Suddenly, the documentaries look less like insider exposés and more like reality TV drama. Harry's memoir positioned him as the wronged prince fighting for his family's dignity. But when the institution he criticizes refuses to acknowledge his children, his story loses gravity. He's not a prince protecting future royals anymore. He's a father raising kids who will never see the inside of palace life. That's not tragic in a human sense, but it's devastating for the brand they've built. Without royal titles, Archie and Lilibet become regular rich kids, still privileged, still connected to famous parents, but not royal. And for Meghan especially, whose lifestyle ventures and speeches lean heavily on her duchess status, that loss cuts deep. She doesn't stand alongside Diana or Kate anymore because her children were never truly accepted into the legacy. The foundation she built her entire image on just got yanked away. The palace didn't need to fight dirty or launch public attacks. It just needed to enforce existing rules. By doing that, it stripped Harry and Meghan of the one thing they couldn't buy or fake: legitimacy. Once the crown withdraws recognition, the whole carefully constructed narrative crumbles. What's left is two people clinging to titles that mean less and less every day, watching their relevance fade while the real royals carry on without them. The final door slams shut. Behind closed doors, Harry reportedly made emotional appeals to save his children's place in royal history. He pleaded with family members. He tried to negotiate. He presented arguments about fairness and family bonds, but every attempt hit the same wall. Rules, not emotions, decide who belongs. The palace listened politely and then reminded him that passion doesn't override law. For Harry, this wasn't just protocol. It was deeply personal. He grew up inside the system. He knows what inclusion feels like and what exclusion costs. Watching his own children get locked out must have felt like watching his worst fears come true. He left the palace partly to protect them, and now they're being excluded anyway. The irony is crushing. Friends describe Harry as torn between anger and desperation during this time. He understands the rules, but he also believes his children deserve better. The problem is, the monarchy doesn't care about what anyone deserves. It cares about what the law allows. And the law, written over a century ago, doesn't make exceptions for princes who marry American actresses and move to California. The most painful part might be that Harry's pleas failed not because they lacked heart, but because heart doesn't matter. The institution he once represented with pride now treats his children as outsiders. Every emotional argument he made only highlighted how far he'd drifted from the system he grew up in. California changed him, but it didn't change the palace, and that gap proved too wide to bridge. When the palace finally formalized its decision, it didn't whisper. Legal documents confirmed what years of silence had suggested. Archie and Lilibet were officially removed from the royal framework. No titles, no succession rights, no security provided by the crown. In one stroke, they were erased from the official lineage that defines the Windsor dynasty. This wasn't just a demotion, it was total removal. The monarchy doesn't make these moves lightly, and when it does, the message echoes for generations. For William, who reportedly has no love left for his brother, this decision likely felt like justice. When he becomes king, those titles won't be restored. The fury Harry sensed from his brother isn't temporary. It's permanent. The children didn't choose this battle. They're innocent victims of choices their parents made and rules the palace refuses to bend. But innocence doesn't protect you from institutional decisions. The palace sees this as preservation, protecting centuries-old traditions from people who thought celebrity power could rewrite them. To outsiders, it might look cruel. To the monarchy, it's survival. Archie and Lilibet will grow up loved and privileged, but they'll always carry the weight of being the heirs who weren't. Their names might appear in tabloids, but they won't appear in the official records that matter. And that's the brutal truth Harry and Meghan have to accept. They gambled that modern celebrity culture could override ancient tradition. The palace just proved them spectacularly wrong. So here we are. Two children born into extraordinary circumstances, now living outside the very system that should have embraced them. Buckingham Palace didn't just enforce rules. It sent a message that will echo through generations. The monarchy bends for no one, not even its own blood, when that blood chooses Hollywood over heritage. Archie and Lilibet may never know the weight of a crown, but they'll always know the weight of being excluded from one. Did Harry and Meghan truly understand the fight they were picking? Or did they believe love and fame could conquer centuries of ironclad tradition? The answer is carved in legal documents that won't ever change. This story isn't over, though. Every royal move creates new drama, and every secret eventually surfaces. If this revelation shocked you, wait until you dig deeper into how all of this began. The clues were there all along, hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone to connect them. Don't miss what happens next, because in the world of royalty, silence always hides another bombshell. Hit that like button if this opened your eyes, and subscribe, because we're just getting started. The crown's secrets are endless, and we're here to expose every single one.